Every generation of WWE has its defining superstar. The 1980s had Hulk Hogan. The Attitude Era belonged to Stone Cold Steve Austin. And for nearly 2 decades, one man carried the weight of an entire company on his shoulders. He was called the future of WWE. He was called unstoppable. He was called overrated. Some fans worshipped him. Others couldn't wait to see him lose. Yet through every cheer, every boo, every injury, every setback, he kept coming back. Because for John Cena, greatness was never about proving people wrong. It was about proving he could never be counted out. More than 20 years after an unknown rookie stepped into a WWE ring, he stood alone at the top of wrestling history. 17 world championships, 1 record, 1 legacy. This is the story of how John Cena became WWE's first 17-time world champion. History has a strange way of hiding in plain sight. Long before sold-out stadiums echoed with "Let's Go Cena," long before championship parades, movie premieres, and world records, John Cena was simply another young wrestler hoping someone would notice him. When he arrived in WWE in 2002, the company wasn't searching for its next global superstar. It already had legends. The Rock, The Undertaker, Triple H, Kurt Angle, Brock Lesnar, Eddie Guerrero, Edge. The roster was overflowing with established names. For a newcomer, there wasn't much room left at the top. And if you failed to make an impression quickly, someone else would take your place. Then, on an ordinary episode of SmackDown, everything changed. Olympic gold medalist Kurt Angle walked to the ring and issued an open challenge. No storyline, no build-up. Just one question. Who had the courage to step forward from behind the curtain? A 25-year-old rookie walked toward the ring. Most of the audience had never heard his name. John Cena. Angle looked him up and down before asking one simple question. What makes you think you belong here? Cena didn't give a speech. He didn't try to impress anyone. He answered with 2 words that would define the beginning of his career. Ruthless aggression. The bell rang. For only a few minutes, the unknown rookie stood toe-to-toe with one of the best wrestlers in the world. He lost. But something unusual happened. Nobody remembered the result. They remembered the courage. Sometimes, the match that changes your life isn't the one you win. It's the one that proves you belong. For John Cena, that night opened the first door. Walking through it would prove much harder. Over the next year, Cena struggled to find his place. He had the strength. He had the athletic ability. He had the determination. But he still didn't have something every superstar needs, an identity. Without one, even the most talented wrestlers disappear. Then, by complete accident, everything changed. While joking with other wrestlers backstage, Cena began freestyle rapping. The confidence, the humor, the attitude. It wasn't scripted. It was simply John Cena being himself. Someone backstage noticed. Soon, WWE handed him a microphone. The result changed his career forever. The Doctor of Thuganomics was born. Suddenly, the same wrestler who had struggled to connect with fans became impossible to ignore. Every week, his confidence grew. His promos became sharper. The crowds became louder. The man who had almost faded into the background was becoming one of WWE's fastest rising stars. Then came another milestone. The United States Championship. It wasn't WWE's biggest prize, but it proved something even more important. John Cena could carry a championship. He could carry television. He could carry an audience. And WWE noticed. Because while fans celebrated the rise of a charismatic young superstar, Executives inside the company were beginning to see something much bigger. They weren't just looking at a future champion. They were looking at the man who might carry WWE into its next era. What nobody realized was that opportunity was much closer than anyone imagined. Waiting on the other side was WrestleMania, a WWE championship match, and the moment that would change John Cena's life forever. By the beginning of 2005, John Cena had become impossible to ignore. The Doctor of Thuganomics had transformed an unknown rookie into one of the most popular superstars in WWE. Every week, the reactions grew louder. The merchandise sold faster. The arenas echoed with his catchphrases. But popularity doesn't make you the face of a company. Responsibility does. Behind the scenes, WWE was entering one of the biggest transitions in its history. For years, legends like Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Rock had defined an era. Now the company needed someone to lead the next one. Someone younger, someone reliable, someone who could connect with millions of fans around the world. WWE believed they had found that person. His name was John Cena, but first, he had to earn it. Standing between Cena and the WWE Championship was one of the most dominant champions on SmackDown, John Bradshaw Layfield, better known as JBL. Unlike Cena, JBL didn't represent hope. He represented power. Dressed in expensive suits, arriving in limousines, and constantly reminding the world of his wealth and influence, JBL carried himself like a champion who believed he could never be touched. John Cena couldn't have been more different. No luxury, no privilege, no shortcuts. Just relentless determination and an unshakable belief that hard work could overcome anything. Their rivalry quickly became more than a battle for a championship. It became a clash between two completely different visions of success. One believed power came from money. The other believed it came from earning the respect of the people. That collision was destined for the biggest stage imaginable. WrestleMania 21. More than 70,000 fans packed the arena. For many, it was simply another WrestleMania main event. For WWE, it was the beginning of a new era, because championships can change hands overnight. But the role of being the face of WWE isn't handed to just anyone. It's earned under the brightest lights. As the bell rang, the pressure was enormous. Cena wasn't just fighting JBL. He was fighting every doubt that had followed him since his debut. Every person who thought he was just another passing star. Every question about whether he was truly ready. The match was physical. The atmosphere electric. Every near fall pulled the audience deeper into the moment. Then, everything changed. Cena delivered the decisive blow. 1, 2, 3. For the first time in his career, John Cena stood in the middle of a WrestleMania ring holding the WWE Championship high above his head. The celebration lasted only a few minutes. The responsibility would last for years, because on that night, WWE didn't just crown a new champion. They handed the future of the company to a 27-year-old who had no idea how much that responsibility would eventually cost him. From that moment forward, every championship defense, every television appearance, every WrestleMania, every business decision would be measured against one question. Can John Cena carry WWE? The answer wouldn't come in one match. It would take the next 15 years to find out. At first, the answer seemed obvious. John Cena wasn't just succeeding, he was becoming the biggest star in professional wrestling. But the higher he climbed, the more the world expected from him. And before long, being champion would become the easiest part of his job. Winning the WWE Championship changed John Cena's career, but carrying WWE changed his life, almost overnight. John Cena stopped chasing the spotlight. He became the spotlight. Every poster featured his face. Every commercial wanted his name. Every WrestleMania was built around him. If WWE had a big event, John Cena was expected to deliver. And most of the time, he did. Championship after championship. Main event after main event. His legacy continued to grow. But something unexpected happened along the way. The louder the cheers became, the louder the boos became too. No superstar in modern WWE history divided an audience quite like John Cena. Every arena became a battle of two chants. Let's go Cena. Cena sucks. The strange part, neither side was wrong. To millions of children, John Cena represented hope, discipline, respect, hard work, never giving up. Parents trusted him, kids wanted to be him, but another part of the audience saw something completely different. They watched the same matches and saw a superstar who always seemed to overcome impossible odds, no matter how difficult the challenge, no matter how dangerous the opponent. John Cena somehow found a way to win. The internet gave him a nickname that spread across wrestling forums and arenas around the world. Super Cena. To some, it was a compliment. To others, it was criticism. Every victory made the debate even louder. Was John Cena truly that great? Or had WWE built the entire company around one man? While millions argued, Cena kept showing up, week after week, city after city, year after year, and with every passing season, the pressure only grew heavier, because being the face of WWE meant more than winning matches. It meant carrying an entire company. If ticket sales dropped, people pointed at Cena. If television ratings fell, people blamed Cena. If fans complained about WWE's direction, the criticism somehow found its way back to Cena, whether it was fair or not. The expectations never disappeared. Then came the rivalries that defined an era. Edge. A rival who proved that the championship could disappear in a single shocking moment. Every encounter between them pushed Cena further than ever before. Then there was Randy Orton. Two young stars. Two completely different personalities. For nearly a decade, their rivalry became one of WWE's defining stories. Whenever one climbed to the top, the other wasn't far behind. Then came Triple H, a man who had already conquered WWE long before Cena arrived. Every match between them felt less like a championship contest, and more like a battle between generations. But perhaps no rivalry changed John Cena's career more than CM Punk, because Punk wasn't simply trying to defeat the champion. He challenged everything John Cena represented, while Cena stood as WWE's chosen franchise player. Punk became the voice of fans who believed the company had stopped listening. Their rivalry wasn't just personal. It became a debate about the future of professional wrestling itself. Every promo felt real. Every match felt personal. Every word mattered. And somewhere in the middle of all those rivalries, something remarkable happened. Even the people who booed John Cena never stopped reacting to him. Love him, hate him, cheer him, boo him, nobody ignored him. And in the world of professional wrestling, that might be the greatest compliment of all. Outside the ring, his impact became even bigger. While championships filled his resume, John Cena quietly became one of the most dedicated supporters of the Make-A-Wish Foundation. Granting hundreds of wishes to children facing life-threatening illnesses, he showed a side of himself that had nothing to do with championships or main events. For those families, John Cena wasn't a wrestling superstar. He was hope. That's the part of his legacy no championship can measure. But no matter how strong someone appears, time eventually catches everyone. Years of main events, years of constant travel, years of carrying WWE on his shoulders. The toll was beginning to show, for the first time in his career. The unstoppable hero looked human. And soon, John Cena would face an opponent he could never overpower. Time itself, for nearly 15 years. John Cena had been impossible to escape. Every poster, every pay-per-view, every WrestleMania, every championship conversation somehow led back to him. It felt like it would last forever. But in professional wrestling, forever doesn't exist. Years of main events, thousands of matches, countless miles on the road, they all leave a mark. The man who once seemed indestructible was no longer competing every single week. His body had absorbed years of punishment. Recovery took longer. Every return became less frequent. And outside the ring, another world was opening its doors. Hollywood. What had once been an occasional movie role slowly became a second career. John Cena wasn't leaving WWE, but he was no longer living inside it. While he filmed movies around the world, WWE kept moving forward. A new generation emerged. Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, Becky Lynch, Charlotte Flair, Cody Rhodes. These were now the names carrying the company into a new era. For the first time since WrestleMania 21. John Cena wasn't the future. He wasn't even the present. He had become something much rarer. A legend. And something remarkable happened. The fans who had spent years chanting, "Cena sucks!" were now the same fans standing on their feet the moment his music hit. Perspective changes with time. The superstar people once criticized had become the superstar they were afraid to lose. Every appearance suddenly felt important. Every entrance felt nostalgic. Every match carried a question no one wanted to ask out loud. Could this be the last time? But through every return, one conversation refused to disappear. The record, 16 world championships, a number that had stood as the highest peak in WWE history for years. John Cena had shared that mountain with Ric Flair. Every comeback reignited the same debate. Would he ever stand there alone? The opportunities became fewer. The competition became younger. And with each passing year, breaking the record felt less like destiny and more like a dream slipping away. There were championship matches that ended in heartbreak, moments where victory seemed only seconds away. Each defeat carried the same painful thought. Maybe that was the last chance. For many legends, that would have been enough. 16 world championships, a Hall of Fame career. Nothing left to prove. John Cena could have walked away knowing he had already earned his place among the greatest to ever step into a WWE ring. But greatness has a strange habit. It never stops asking one more question. What if? What if there was one more match? One more opportunity? One final chapter still waiting to be written? And that's exactly what history gave him. Not another farewell. Not another nostalgic appearance. One last chance to accomplish something no WWE superstar ever had, 23 years earlier. A rookie had answered Kurt Angle's challenge with two unforgettable words. Now. The veteran who had inspired an entire generation was walking toward the biggest opportunity of his life, not to become champion, but to become history. Some championships create stars. Others create legends. But once in a generation, a championship creates history for John Cena. This wasn't simply another title match. It wasn't another WrestleMania moment. It wasn't another opportunity to prove he was one of the greatest. That debate had been settled years ago. This was something different. This was 23 years of sacrifice, 23 years of pressure, 23 years of carrying expectations that would have broken most careers, all coming down to one final night. As John Cena stepped through the curtain, the reaction said everything. The little kids who once wore colorful wristbands had grown into adults. The fans who once booed him now cheered louder than ever. Because time had changed the conversation. People were no longer watching the hero of their childhood. They were watching the final chapter of a living legend. Across the ring stood one last obstacle, not just an opponent, but the final barrier between John Cena and wrestling immortality. The bell rang. Every strike echoed through the arena. Every near fall pulled thousands of fans to the edge of their seats. For a few unforgettable minutes, nothing else mattered. Not the past, not the future. Only the next 3 seconds. Then, the moment arrived. 1, 2, 3. John Cena had done it. 17. Not tied. Not shared. Alone. For over 2 decades, the number 16 had stood as the highest mountain in WWE. Now, it belonged to the past. But perhaps the most powerful part of the moment had nothing to do with the championship. It was the look on John's face. There was no arrogance, no celebration of proving people wrong, only relief. The relief of a man who had spent 23 years answering every challenge placed in front of him. The rookie who walked into Kurt Angle's open challenge had become the standard every future superstar would be measured against. Because records don't survive for decades by accident. They're built through sacrifices the audience never sees, through injuries no one remembers, through criticism that never fully disappears, through showing up again and again and again. John Cena did all of it. Not for one season, not for one championship, but for an entire generation. Maybe that's why this story was never really about a number. It wasn't about 16 or 17. It was about the journey between them. A journey that transformed an unknown rookie into one of the defining figures in professional wrestling history. More than 20 years ago, Kurt Angle looked at a nervous rookie and asked him one question. What makes you think you belong here? John Cena answered with 2 words. Ruthless aggression. Over the next 2 decades, he answered that same question every single night he stepped into the ring. Not with words, but with his work, his resilience, his commitment, his refusal to quit. Records will eventually be broken. Championships will always change hands. New stars will rise. New eras will begin. But every generation has one name that defines it, for millions of fans around the world. That name was John Cena.